Hi, Alec. Thank you for meeting with me today. I know we discussed briefly what this was going to be about, but I just want to go start to finish today so that you feel confident in the procedures that you're going to be implementing. So we're going to be talking about hand washing, chaining behaviors, and task analysis. Some goals for this session. We're not expecting a whole lot. This is your first time being introduced to this topic, other than maybe a casual, easy understanding of what it is. So we just want to make sure that you have a solid understanding of the steps that need to be implemented, and then a working understanding of how to implement them. It doesn't need to be perfect. You don't need to stress about that. There'll be tons of time for practice and getting comfortable. Also, I know I'm not your normal learner, so that is understandable as well. I'll have a checklist with me that I'll go through at the end just to make sure that we're hitting all the right boxes and that you're getting all the right steps in. And then later you'll have access to this checklist as well so that you can evaluate yourself and make sure that you're getting all the right steps as well. So first, we want to make sure that you've got a good understanding of a behavior chain in addition to a task analysis for hand washing. Overall, we'd like for you to be able to implement 80% or higher correct target responses over 3 successive sessions. So we're going to have multiple sessions. This is just the first one. It'd be great if on those checklists you had 80% or higher. If not, again, not a worry. We can have more sessions or whatever else you need as needed. If you've got any questions at all as we're going through, I know I can talk a little fast, just stop me and we'll go ahead and answer those questions for you. So just some highlights on what it is we're going to be doing. First of all, what is the prompting? So we're going to be doing most to least full physical prompting. So starting with full physical prompting, I know you know a little bit about that. We'll go through all of it later, so not to worry. Yeah, we just want to make sure that you're confident in that. Full physical prompting is really good for learners who are just learning a new skill. They can kind of go ahead and be able to work through a whole task from start to finish and learn that task, as opposed to doing a trial and error and perhaps seeing themselves error. Eventually we'll fade those out. So that's a further future step. Overall, what is a behavior chain and task analysis, especially for hand washing? Well, think about some complex behaviors. It can seem like a lot and it's sometimes very daunting as well. If you think about perhaps if you start your car, you don't just start your car, you're standing beside your car, you have to open the door, sit down, take out your keys, put the keys in the ignition, and then turn it on, and that would be starting your car. It's the same for hand washing. So the steps for hand washing, you're going to have your controlling SD, which is just the kind of the phrase you want to say or the instruction that you want to say to get the learner to go ahead and start the behavior. So it's going to be wash hands, and you want to make sure that they're in front of the sink, because that's also very important. You can't wash your hands in front of the oven. So in front of the sink, wash hands, and then immediately you can say turn on tap, and you'll go and you'll use their hands to turn on the tap. It's also important that you stand behind them so that they can just see themselves doing it. It helps with the back prompting as well. Easier to fade prompts in the future too. So turn on tap, and then once the water's running, you say get soap, they get the soap, and then you can go and scrub hands. They can scrub their hands, rub their hands, and then you want to rinse, you'll rinse their hands, and then turn off tap, they'll turn off the tap. Dry hands, you want to dry their hands, and then immediately give the reinforcement. So the reinforcement is really important as well. On top of doing all the steps, you want to make sure that they get reinforced right away with something that is preferred and tangible. So you can say, good job, and give them what they want. So what's something that your learner likes?
Chocolate covered raisins.
Awesome, chocolate covered raisins. So we've got some of those today. So we can practice using and delivering those and why they're so beneficial. Yeah, so if you feel comfortable with that, we can go ahead and do some of the modeling. Do you have any questions so far?
Would this be here?
That is a great one as well. So we can prep our environment. it is a bit confusing right now to have a hand soap and a lotion right next to each other, especially if they're both pumped. So we can remove that. Also want to make sure that it's just the hand soap, it's everything that we need, are very necessary materials. You could even move your hand washing cloth over here. Perfect, yeah, and that way it's right there. Everything you need is within view. You can keep the reinforcement out of view just so they're not fixated on it, and at least for the time being. However, if it works out later where they need to see that reinforcement to keep them motivated, we can address that as that goes on as well. But for now, just keep it out of view. That way they're just focused on your instruction and what you'll be teaching and instructing them to do as it goes on. Great. So I've got my checklist here that I will go through afterwards, but we can get started with our modeling. So if you want to go ahead, you will be the learner and I'll be you for this. So I'll stand behind you. I'll be using your wrists and hands to manipulate you through the tasks and your behaviors and to complete the behavior. So I'll give the SD or the instruction and I'll say, wash hands. And then immediately I'll take your hands. You're a little bit bigger than the learner, so it might not work out quite the same way. But just imagine you're really, you're probably a little bit bigger, so you'll be over top of them and easier to work their hands as well. So yeah, you say wash hands, grab their hands, and then you can say turn on tap. And so you would turn on the tap for them. Now you're here. It's important to have a nice clear voice as well, especially with the tap running. So you would say, get soap. Then you would get the soap for them. Perfect. And you could say, rub hands. So you would rub their hands for them just like that. Awesome. And now you can say, rinse. And you're rinsing hands, or you could say rinse hands as well. Turn off tap. And then dry hands. They would dry their hands. Perfect. Awesome. And then I go, awesome job. There you go. And there you go. Do you have any questions so far?
I think so.
Yeah, so it's just deliver that reinforcement right at the end. That's very, very important. And then delivering a clear instruction for every single step. Okay, great. So we can go ahead, if you feel comfortable, we can practice that that behavior chain through. So where should I be standing?
Right in front of us. So wash hands. Turn on tap. Get soap. Rub hands. Rinse hands. Turn off tap. Dry hands. Very good.
Great. Okay, that was very, very good for your first time. I liked how you had a very clear voice. It was turn on tap. I could hear that no problem. You gave me my reinforcement. That was also great. Just when you're giving the reinforcement, you can say good job, not when you're reaching into the bucket. Good job. It just helps to connect the dots that they did a good job. Other than that, I think you did really great. I'm going to go ahead and just fill out some of the steps on the checklist to make sure that we have hit some of our markers that we wanted to achieve today. So have you prepared your required materials? Absolutely, you did a great job of that. Unnecessary distractions, you got that one right away. That's awesome. Tangible reinforcement, yes. You just want to make sure that every time it's something that they prefer. No problem with that. Gain instructional control, of course. There's nobody around. That's great. As long as they're paying attention to you, not distracted, looking at the task ahead, that's great. Gave a clear instruction, of course, that's great. Natural tone of voice, yep. And you only delivered the instruction once, so that's great as well. You don't want to deliver it twice because they might go and wait twice instead, think that they need to that you need to deliver it twice in order for them to respond. Once is good, especially with the full physical prompt. You say it once and then immediately give that full physical prompt. You delivered the controlling SD in front of a sink. Then you went and issued the SD for each individual step. That was awesome. You did it in a good order as well. And a full physical prompt was delivered for every step. And you did it right away. You don't want to leave too much of a gap in between. The less time, the better. And we can work on our fluidity as well. So that's not a problem. That was very good. You didn't give any unintentional prompts. You recorded the client's behavior as correct or incorrect. Essentially, yes, you can do that as well. You want to record it in real time. That just helps to create and collect accurate data. When you're delivering full physical prompts, as long as the child is not actively trying to get out and away, it's usually going to be a yes for the correct target response. Reinforcement is delivered immediately, less than 2 seconds. Yeah, that was less than 2 seconds. That was great. And paired with appropriate verbal praise, yes. It's tangible and edible. Given directly to me, yes. And less than 5 seconds with an interval and recorded in real time, absolutely. So you did really, really good today. That was definitely over 80% for our first training session, which was amazing, actually, considering we went into this without any understanding or any preconceived notions about what the training was going to be about. So that is awesome. I'd say the one thing to work on is just that fluidity and to make sure that it's all get soap, rinse hands, but again, that's nothing to worry about. That's easy. That comes with practice and a little bit of confidence, but you know what, you've got what it takes. That's great. So yeah, we'll do another training session just to make sure that you are comfortable with the steps that we've done. I don't have any real concerns at this time though. So that's more of a formality rather than anything. And I'd say after that, I can just observe you with your learner and just make sure that you are implementing it correctly and that you perhaps don't have any questions as well. Some things might come up during your first session with your learner. I can be there for that so that it's all taken care of immediately. So that's great.
Good. Very good.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks for coming. That was awesome. You did such a good job.